Welcome to episode 74 of the AskShell.com podcast. We are answering emails from homeowners like yourself. If you have a question that you would like to have answered by Shell or myself, Morgan, just go to AskShell.com, submit your question, and we will have it in the next episode. Good day, Shell. Happy Remembrance Day.
Hey, thank you very much. And certainly for those who have loved ones that have been lost at wartime, and certainly the likes of our service person today, I think it's something that we do not want to forget about them on this wonderful weekend of remembrance. And we wear the poppy in pride and very proud to be a Canadian, and certainly making it possible for we, the population of Canada, our neighbors to the south, and certainly around the world, we will not forget. And yes, it is nice to be here and being able to be on the air, on our podcast, to say thank you for those that have made it possible for us to have a free world. Thank you. And today on the AskShell.com, one of the items I would like people to remember, there is 2 L's in Shell. Okay, right. Because if you're having trouble getting through to AskShell.com, in most cases it'll go through anyway, but if it doesn't, you might just check that out.
Double check that you got 2 L's, and Busey is B-U-S-E-Y if you're ever looking for that.
No Z's or Z's in there.
No, on today's podcast we are going to have a question answered by Tony Gioventu. That is our strata question. Mm-hmm. Emails I have for you, a question about moisture in the home.
Again.
Keeping a second-story gutter clean. When to shut off the outside water. How often do we need to keep perimeter drains clean? And wallpapering over top of wood paneling.
Very good questions. And when I said not again on the moisture in the home, there's moisture in the home, and there's moisture in the home, and then there's moisture in the home. But every question is different when it comes to moisture in the home. And this particular one here, when you read the email, I'm sure it'll be different.
Yes. Here we go. Well, we might as well get into it right away.
Get at her, pitter patter.
Your article indicates to set your humidistat at 50% for summer temperatures. I have an HRV system in my condo, and it states the humidistat should be disabled, set at 80% during the summer season, and should only be used in the heating season. I have also found that as the temperature outside decreases, I need to increase my humidification setting, but usually find a setting of 40% works best. Should I have my humidistat set to run at 50% during the summer and not follow the manual directions? I do find sometimes the humidity is high in the summer, but usually we have windows open and the humidity drops during the day, and that is from Lori.
Well, Lori, that's a very good question, and I'm going to say that when you're dealing with a unit being a HRV, heat recovery ventilation, it's amazing the number of inquiries, first of all, that I get on it, and Morgan gets on it, as well as where you can go to find information on it, be it the library, be it the Google, or be it even on our Facebook or on our YouTubes. All these items are relevant to relative humidity, moisture in the home that you cannot see unless it condenses somewhere on a window in the cold weather, or in a pan inside your HRV, or dripping into a drain from the bottom of your HRV into a sink or into a drain. All these things are associated with ventilation and moisture being relative humidity in the home. I just wanted to clarify that particular aspect of it, because I did hear the term 50%. 50% relative humidity is mid-range when you're dealing with 0 to 100%. 0% relative humidity would be a very, very cold, dry day. Okay? To take and dry out a home to anywhere near that particular percentage. Let's say if you were to take a moisture level in a home down to say 20% because of being very cold outside. Well, you would have static electricity from walking across the floor and touching anything metal. You'd be zapping everybody when it comes to shaking hands or to touch anybody or put your finger up near their ear, which is not a good feeling. So you can reduce relative humidity, but by so doing, it's going to be cold and dry outside. Okay? You're not going to be able to take it down to below the percentage that's outside during the summer months unless you are in a desert-like environment. And if that's the case, then yes, you can, because relative humidity is relevant to the moisture level in the environment. So be it on the desert, if you're down golfing in Palm Springs or somewhere in Arizona, or if you're golfing somewhere in British Columbia near the ocean, or a nice lake, for example, up in the Okanagan area, and a day that might have been a little overcast and maybe a shower, then you're going to bring up relative humidity. But for setting your humidistat and your HRV, to me, setting it at 80 during the summer, no problem, because you're going to be circulating air from outside into your home and exhausting inside air, which would be stale air, to the outside. So you're just moving air, which is good. You're keeping things dry. You're keeping things moving. You're keeping your furniture nice and moist with the weather conditions outside. Your carpeting, your drapery, your bedding, all of those things are going to be kept at a norm, relevant to the environment that's outside because you're bringing air in from outside. Okay, so all of that being said, when it comes to 40% in the winter months, you can maintain if you have an environment that is going to allow you to maintain that 40%. And again, let me explain to you what I mean by that. You're keeping air circulating. You have your humidistat or your humidity indicator on your HRV, that's a heat recovery ventilation device. You're setting it at 40. And let's say it's 60% outside because of the temperature and the weather conditions. Then inside, you're going to maintain a level that your fan or your high or mid-range speed may be on rather than a low speed, unless you have it purposely set at a low speed, keeping it constantly moving. But in the winter months, keep in mind that 0 degrees outside and 40% relative humidity inside at room temperature, say at 22 degrees Celsius, then you are going to have some condensation on your windows because that's your meeting dew point. As soon as that temperature comes up outside, from 0 to 5 to 10, then you're going to find that the relative humidity will drop inside because you're moving air now and you're reducing relative humidity based upon the temperature outside and the relative humidity with room temperature inside. And I know it sounds complicated, but really, as far as your moisture levels inside based on relative humidity, it's always nice to try and maintain status quo. And status quo is room temperature during the winter months. If you are in a zone, in a temperature zone, that you're going to have 0 to minus 5 degrees from time to time, then you want to leave it set at 40% relative humidity during the winter months. You may have to reduce that if the temperature goes down to minus 15, minus 20, minus 25, minus 30, which I have been in different parts of Canada, especially in the prairies, that you have minus 40, minus 50 wind chill factor. Mm-hmm. So you are going to reduce relative humidity. Otherwise, if you produce it through a humidifier on the furnace or even portable humidification, then as soon as you go much higher than what's requested or required to keep the moisture off the windows, then you have to come down and work with the outside moisture that is coming inside through the makeup air of exhausting heat recovery ventilation. And heat recovery ventilation is the best. You see much more of it in the newer homes.
Right.
And they have to be serviced like a furnace. So keep in mind, folks, if you do have an HRV, heat recovery ventilation, again, I repeat that, make sure that you do keep the filtration clean within the unit. Otherwise, they're not doing you any good at all. So there you have it, the story on HRVs. And again, we have a book, Keeping the Heat In, free of charge, made available by Resource Canada, and we have them in stock. You'll have to pick them up. We do not mail them out. Okay, and it's one of those things that you should have.
They're worth their weight in gold at this time of year, Shell.
Information education, that's what it's all about.
Next email. Hello. I would like your thoughts on keeping a back second-story gutter clear of leaves from a mature elm on my property. In the fall, they fill with leaves in no time. I have a fear of heights, so I've been hiring a gutter cleaning outfit to do the work. The rest of my gutters are 8 to 10 feet off the ground, and I can clean them myself with my leaf blower in about 10 minutes. I've been playing with the idea of installing gutter guards on the back upper gutter, and I've been told the micro mesh ones are the best. To complicate matters, I also have roof heating cables running along the edge of the back upper roof and in the gutter as well. And the people who installed my heating cables told me it's important to keep the gutter free of debris for proper drainage. Thank you, Michael.
Well, Michael, and I see that I believe that gentleman was from Winnipeg.
Correct, yes.
Okay, and one of the reasons why I bring up the Winnipeg scenario, because I heard the comment being made regarding the de-icing cables, and that's one of the areas that they do use them. But I would like to suggest, number one here, that maintaining gutters and putting gutter guards, keep the gutters clean, yes, very important, but also the outlet where the water runs to your outlet being your downfall. That's where the outfall of your gutter goes to the ground. It's always nice to enlarge those to a 3-inch size or a 3x4 size. That way, at least you do have a lot of the debris go down the gutter, and there is a gutter basket, for an example, different items that will stop those leaves from going to your perimeter drains. It's not good to put all those leaves down into the perimeter drains, believe me, because they will fill up the perimeter drains, and blocked perimeter drains causes water inside the home. So let's get with the cleaning. One of the things that you must have a leaf blower by the sound of it, and because you do the lower ones with the leaf blower. What you can do is, and I do suggest, and I have suggested this to a number of people, make themselves a extension, the same way as you would on your vacuum cleaner. Make an extension with a piece of ABS black plastic pipe and adapt it to your leaf blower. That way you can put an elbow on the end, which will go hook over the gutter, or the eave trough as they call it back east, and blow your gutters out. So that way, cost-wise, it's very limited, because the ABS pipe is not that expensive, and you could adapt very easily to using some of your ABS plastic adhesives and make yourself your own extension. Because going up 10 feet or having a pipe 10 feet is going to make it a lot easier, especially when you have to very simply hold the leaf blower at your ground level or wherever it is you're operating from. So that would be one of my recommendations. Going to the perforated aluminum gutter screen to me, is by far the best, because what happens there, you will get the leaves on your roof being run down to the gutter with the rainfall, and then the wind and natural Mother Nature will blow it off. And that way it will not interfere with your concern. Okay? So really, those deterrents are something that you can put in. You can put the gutter basket in. You can put the gutter guards in. You can use the perforated aluminum screen that goes on top. Or, as I say, take your leaf blower, manufacture, make for yourself a DIY ABS plastic, and you want to use anywhere, say, I would use a 2-inch ABS pipe, and make yourself your own leaf blower with an extension, because the length of ABS pipe is 10 feet. So 10 feet will normally get you that next floor on your gutters to clean. Put an elbow in the end, bingo. It's just that easy.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Next email, when to shut off the outside water. This one comes from Delta. My strata council insists that the outside water has to be shut off at the end of October. It seems too early since I garden and clean my deck and need outside water as long as possible. Is the end of October realistic or too early to be shutting off the water? Thanks, Claire in Delta.
Well, Claire in Delta, first of all, don't let it be me to be the bad guy to say it's too early or too late. Because I'll tell you right now, the reason why they say October, they say it because most people, if they don't do it in October, when everybody else is doing it, then they forget.
Right.
And then when they forget, they have problems, because lying on a beach down in the southern part of North America, be it in Mexico, or be it in Florida, or be it in Arizona, or Palm Springs, or California, and you're lying back on the beach and say, oh gosh, temperature here today on my internet reading back in Delta, it's -5, and I forgot to shut the water off. Well, there you have it, folks. So if your strata is reminding you to shut your water off, it is for good reason. If you've got, as we mentioned many times on this program, if you've got the frost-free spigots or the frost-free faucets outside, then by all means, all you have to do is not worry about it, because frost-free, you're not going to have the problem. Okay? Now, if you don't have, and you got the shut-offs in the crawl space, then you got to shut the water off in the crawl space or in the basement. And then once you shut it off, turn the faucet on outside to drain the valve. Because if you don't drain the valve, then you'll end up splitting the faucet, and that's more costly than buying or draining or shutting off the water in October. Okay? So it's just one of those rules that I don't mind at all. I think the end of October, I mean, not too many people are out washing their car. Right. Or watering plants or watering grass at the end of October. Plants.
You should be able to take a watering bucket from the inside if you really have to.
Well, or turn it on and turn it off, depending on where the shut-off is. If it's inside a garage, it's not hard to turn one on to fill a bucket and then shut it off again, and then leave the faucet on. That way you don't have any water lying in the faucet. Mm-hmm. So the valve is a big one. That's your faucet. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with October, because I'll tell you right now, if you leave it till November, somebody will forget and not do it, or somebody will say, oh, well, December's like soon enough. It'll all depend on Mother Nature as well. Who knows what's going to happen?
Especially if you're in a condo where that would be common area. The outside of the home would be common area. So you basically should be listening to
it's your unit, and it's a common area. A good point you make there. And when they say to do it, do it. It's, there's no use trying to take, an A and make it into a B. Do A. Get her done.
You are listening to episode 74 and watching episode 74 of the AskShell.com
podcast. Oh, yes, we're smiling at you today, folks.
And if you are used to just listening, go check it out, because the video is out there on YouTube, and on AskShell.com is an easy way to get to it as well.
And let us know if you like this or not. It's always nice to know that the questions are getting answered. And keep in mind, we receive absolutely no emails that there isn't an answer that goes out to everyone that is participating at askshell.com. Membership in my club. It's free. We do not share any email addresses. You don't get any junk. You get nothing but good information, making it just that easy.
Next email I have for you, Shell. The time has come for us to convert our basement into a suite. The problem we have noticed when examining the concrete foundation a little closer is that there is water in one corner of the basement. Our home is about 20 years old, and I know we have perimeter drains as well as a sump pump. A neighbor has suggested that that's the cause for the leaking. I must confess we have never had the perimeter drainage cleaned out, and many of our neighbors do this, regardless of any signs of leaking. Do you agree that this is something required on a regular basis? Davin in Coquitlam.
Davin, the answer very simply is yes, I agree with it. Timing? Let me explain. First of all, your gutters go to your perimeter drains in majority of cases. And gutters, as you know, you don't have any control what goes down the gutter and into the drains, because when they go down to the drains, if you have leaves or you have acorns or you have needles, those items will plug up drainage faster than you can think about cleaning them out. So one, yes I do. Coquitlam is one major area that you should be always concerned about perimeter drains, and especially when you say you have a sump and a sump pump, because you don't want a lot of debris or residual getting into your sump pump, because they are expensive to replace. To clean out the perimeter drains, pretty low cost maintenance when done on a regular basis. And I like to say, if you're in a leafy needle area, then you want to do it at least every 3 years. Okay? Otherwise, every 5 you get away with it. But keeping in mind, when you say that you have never had it done, it comes back to the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. So therefore, they're down in the ground, you forget about them until you see the wet spot. So, when in doubt, don't pout, let Shell help you out. So, get your perimeter drains cleaned, please, because it's, if you relate to the automobile, how many kilometers do you put on your automobile before you change the oil? Think about that. 20 years? 15 years? No. 3, maybe 4 times a year. And figure it out. My vehicle that I drive, the last time I had it serviced with synthetic oil and grease, whatever they grease today, can't see anything actually, but they do something, and then they change your tires around. You don't come out of there for less than $200. I can recall having oil changed for $20.
Right. Or you do it yourself.
Or do it yourself.
You just got the price of oil.
So the thing is, you have to maintain your home just like you do your automobile. Because just because it's out of sight down in the ground, you can be pretty well assured if you're in a Coquitlam environment, you could be in a lot of groundwater. And groundwater meaning that it builds up in the ground, it comes up against your footings, and if your perimeter drains are plugged and the water's not getting into those drains to go to the sump to be pumped out, then you're going to have water, and it's called hydraulic water. So there you have it. Get her done.
Is there a certain time of year that would be better? Because you're saying mostly it's needles and leaves, so would you want to wait till the fall is through and all those have fallen? Or would you want to get ahead of that? Maybe the springtime would be better to clean, or does it matter?
Well, let's look at it this way. In the case that we spoken to Davin, right now, get her done.
Yeah.
Okay? Because obviously they need it. But afterwards, if you want to do it before the leaves become a problem, then do it after the leaves, just after the leaves have fallen. And keep in mind as well that your perimeter drains are down in the ground. They're down below the freezing. So therefore you can do them anytime. So the main thing is keep them clean and on a regular basis. Mark them on the calendar. Mark them in your diary. Mark them on your computer. Put a memory, jaunt your memory by putting it on a forward file in your home computer. All these things, but it's very, very important. It's not something that you want to leave, because if you do leave it, then you are going to be talking major dollars. Right now, it all depends. They come out and give you a price. They can tell as soon as they look into the sump. So have them come out. There's no obligation using our services for to get a price. So hey, it's just that easy. And when Bob from Drain Rock comes out and does that estimate for you, you'll be more than pleased.
Beautiful. One email before we get Tony G in here. I would like to wallpaper over some out-of-date wood paneling in our spare bedroom. Can this be done so we don't have to remove the paneling first? Thanks, Lindsay in North Vancouver.
Well, Lindsay, absolutely you can. It all is relevant to the quality of the wallpaper that you're planning on putting on, and also is your wall paneling, is it with grooves or without grooves? And if it's with grooves, then you should very simply fill those grooves with a DAP filler. And keep in mind, DAP fillers are available today at your paint stores or building supply stores. They go on pink and they dry white and they're ready to rock. You might want to sand them a little bit because you don't want that appearance showing a ripple in your wallpaper, and you don't want to go over top of the paneling if it is V-grooved paneling without putting some filler in the V-grooves, because otherwise it's going to cure or dry when you put the wallpaper on, and it's going to concave into that V-groove, and it's not going to look very nice. So all being said, I would certainly suggest that you use a DAP filler. Pick it up at your local paint store or hardware store or building supply store. Run it over with a good 4-inch spackling knife, and you might have to do some light sanding. And after it goes from pink to white, it's all ready to sand, and then away you go. But make sure that the paneling is clean. Okay? So many people today maybe have waxed the paneling at one time or another to bring back the natural color, and if that's the case, you'll have to use my Shell Busey home cleaning formula. We got any of that around here? Oh, yeah,
there's way up top.
There's way up on top. But anyways, Shell Busey's home cleaning formula. You can pick it up at your Cloverdale Paint Store and Home Hardware. A lot of the stores, Windsor Plywood and Cloverdale Paint is one of the big suppliers of it. So there you go. It's easy to do, and it is just that easy. But going over top of paneling, piece of cake. Just make sure it's clean. Make sure you get the proper instructions on how to go about wallpapering.
And you don't have to go. You could paint it.
Oh yeah, you can paint it.
Wood paneling looks good painted as well.
And it looks good if you just leave the grooves as they are. You don't even have to fill them. Just go over the grooves with the paint, and it gives you that almost shadow line. It looks good. It looks really good.
Well, Shell, that's all the emails I have for you, but we do have the question submitted that has been answered by Tony Gioventu. So I will read the question. You will take care of the answer.
You bet I will.
Dear Tony, I am a new council member in our complex of 165 units. We had a complaint from an owner that a number of charges that appeared to be fines were taken from her bank account without her consent. As a result, her account did not have enough money to pay for her strata fees, which ended up putting her in arrears. This happened over the last 3 months, and the strata council was told by our manager at the last week's council meeting that she now owes us over $1,500 in late payments of strata fees, fines, and interest, and that a lien has been filed against her strata lot. Council were prepared to accept the manager's report, except the owner has requested a hearing and demanded an explanation of the charges along with the fines and how she could be in arrears when she would not have been if the unauthorized fines had not been taken out in the first place. The manager advised that when a person is late paying strata fees or the bank agreement authorizes the removal of other fees, the strata does not have an obligation to notify the person as they have already consented. At my insistence, counsel has agreed to wait to take further action until after the hearing. The owner immediately sent in a request for the details of the charges when they showed up on her account, and all she received in return was an email advising it was for the fines. This doesn't seem right. Are we missing something, Edna in Burnaby?
Well, Edna, Tony Gioventu writes to you, Dear Edna, you are correct. There are a number of decisions here that may be incorrect. Section 135 of the Strata Property Act requires that a person is fined to pay the costs of remediating a bylaw or rule contravention, or denied access to the recreational facility. The Strata Corporation must give the person a notice of the complaint in writing, include the particulars of the complaint, and give them an opportunity to respond in writing or request a hearing of counsel. Your Strata Corporation / Strata Management Company appears to have imposed a fine by removing the cost of a fine from her account without the prescribed period of notice and conditions. If an owner signs a pre-authorized debit agreement, they have not surrendered their rights to dispute a claim under the Act. If your strata failed to meet the requirements of the Act, it was the action of the strata that put the owner into arrears, not the owner who has been requesting the details of the complaint. Your strata may be required to reverse the fines, late payment interest costs, and liens that have been filed. Another common error relates to Strata Management Company automatically imposing fines for late payment of strata fees. Whether a bylaw fine is associated with the late payment of a strata fee or other alleged breach, the Strata Corporation must not fine the person until they have complied with Section 135. The only exception is if this is ongoing or a continued contravention of the same bylaw, where the strata is not required to give notice of the continued breach and may impose a fine once every 7 days. It is also important for the Strata Council to understand that they cannot delegate their bylaw enforcement authority to another party. The decision to impose fines for a breach of bylaws or rules is a matter for a vote of council at a council meeting, owners signing PADs, and that stands for, folks, pre-authorized debt. Should read the documents closely. The Strata Corporation will only be able to remove the types of the fees you have authorized. The terms of the contract fees were created by the Strata Management Company acting for the strata, not the bank. There you have it. It's just that easy. So we really do want to say thanks to Tony Gioventu for giving us this information and making it available to you, the listeners of my podcast, every week, which you're listening to right now. So, folks, if you have a question, if you have a concern with your strata, and you are dealing within strata or even a member of strata, for goodness sakes, get those questions off to me. We will get the information. Morgan will get in touch with Tony Gioventu, and we get the answers back for you, and you will get the answer directly as well as here on the podcast. It is just that easy.
Well, Shell, we've come to the end of episode 74. To have your question in episode 75, it's simple. Just send it through on askshell.com. And even if it doesn't make the podcast, Shell will answer it and give you an answer. So once again, happy Remembrance Day to all of our veterans out there and ones that are currently fighting for us overseas or here at home.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And Shell, we'll talk to you next week for episode 75.
You betcha. And keep in mind, those stratas are very, very important. And Edna, That information will be sent out to you, as you are aware, from Morgan. And I'd like to take this opportunity as well to say have a great weekend, and certainly lest we forget those who have fought for us for our free land. Thank you so much, folks, and as usual, we love you all. Bye-bye for now.